Hi there, I'm Riza Khan. As most of you may know, I want to just jump on here because there's been some topics that have kind of been brought to me over the past 2 years, and I feel like I needed to do a live just on them. It's not related to Christmas. By all means, if you guys want to see the Christmas live that we did last night on Distress at Christmas Time, you're welcome to check back the page or check the Equal Guyana page. Um, but I want to talk about boundaries. So, boundaries are essentially those invisible emotional and cognitive lines that we have with people. They can be like deciding not to tell a friend who we knows likes to talk a lot about things that are really important to us. It can be deciding to not go to that Christmas party because you have a toxic set of coworkers. It could be not spending time with your parent, guardian, family members because they're not really friendly or kind or supportive, right? They make you feel bad. And so I wanted to talk about boundaries specifically to the parents. If you're a parent, or if you were even a young adult who had this happen to you, I felt like I needed to let you know that oversharing with your children is really unhealthy. It is unhealthy and it has catastrophic impacts on your children. I want you to know that sharing information about your marriages, your relationships, your regrets, even sometimes, can be a big no-no in the boundaries, or really the boundaries between like mother and child or father and child. And the thing is, we don't really talk about this. And the reality is, it has a big impact because I have clients, and I distinctly wanted to come on and talk about this topic because I've had sessions where clients have told me that their parents, specifically their mother, have told them. I had a friend whose father had said to them years ago when they were a teenager, the only reason I'm here is because of you, aka your mother got pregnant. I've had clients, parents, mothers specifically tell them, I wanted to abort you. Now, what does that do to the child? It, whether you're an adult or a child, whenever, depends on when you were told this information, A, children don't know how to make sense of that. And B, adults don't know what to do with that information because they then equate, you wanted to abort me, thus you don't like me, right? You wanted to get rid of me, and thus who I am or what I am, no matter what things I did that were good, it doesn't matter because you didn't want me. Now, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of times that people want to have abortions. I am pro-choice. I've been pro-choice my whole life. You can fight me on it all you want, but I'm pro-choice. And so I believe that women, because we are the carriers, have a choice. I believe that men have a choice to say to their partner, their fling, their ex-wife, whatever, I don't want a child with you. And so they also have choices as well. And so if it is that you're pro-choice and you would like to have a termination of pregnancy, by all means, once it's safe, go do it. If that's what you feel is what you need to function, be a good mother, be a good daughter, make the right decisions. Maybe you're studying, maybe that's not the time of your life for it. Fine. By all means, fine. But the reality is, your kids don't need to know that. They don't need to know that information. And I want you to ask yourself, what information am I sharing with my children that will be beneficial for them? What benefit to telling your children that you wanted to have an abortion, or not even, I wanted to abort you, you specifically, right? Maybe they didn't want to abort your sibling who came before or after you, but they wanted to abort you. And again, it could have been the time in their life, and maybe they did, maybe they tried to and was unsuccessful, maybe they didn't or changed their mind. That doesn't matter. That information is like, knowing is just not important, right? And even if you wanted to share that with your children, explain to them why. Not, oh, well, your father's a dog and he had tons of outside children and it just wouldn't make sense to have you, right? No, it's, I was going through a difficult time in my life. It probably wasn't the best time, but I decided because XYZ, I wanted a child. I didn't know if I could have another one. I was scared. Be honest. Be honest with your, if you are going to disclose that, and it really should be done with adults who can handle that information, or if you know that you have, say for those parents who are listening and you know that you told your child that you wanted to abort them, especially if it wasn't done in a kind way, like say it was done in an argument, because that often happens. I should have just aborted you. I didn't want to do it anyway. Go back and fix it. For the love of God, go back and fix it and say, I am sorry that I gave you that information. That is not the whole truth and the full truth. And this is what I meant. I was scared. I was afraid. Your father at that time was not, I knew he was not going to be a good father. I knew I couldn't be a good mother because I was working 2 jobs and going to school. Be honest in that regard. Show them your vulnerability, because the reality is that sticks with them. The other thing I would recommend that you don't share with your children is what their fathers did. And this is especially for the mothers and for the fathers. Please stop telling your children what their mothers did. Just stop, because all you're trying to do is poison your children against each other, whether you're intending to or not. This is also particularly not just the mistakes they made in their marriage, but also just abuse. I've had clients where they were explaining to me that their child has anger and they don't know why and they don't know what to do with it. And when I sat with the parent, I realized, well, what do you mean? They're like, oh, because they know that their father used to beat me. And I was like, well, how would the child know that? The child would have been like, I calculated the years, the child was like 3. And they said, oh, well, I told them. Why? What purpose does telling your like 7-year-old child that their father used to strangle you, what purpose does that have? All you are doing is parentifying your child. All you are doing is looking for a shoulder to cry on, and your 7, 14, even 18-year-old child is not that shoulder. Go and get some spiritual support. Go to church. Get some friends. Write it in a diary, journal. Go to therapy. Those are the people you need to be talking to about your traumas, not your 10-year-old, not your 13-year-old. Okay, am I making sense? Am I making sense? This is, as you can see, I'm very passionate about this discussion, because what you guys don't realize is that many of you have issues because your parents have overshared. Many of you come to therapy because you are hurt and need healing from the fact that your family have been major consequences to what brings you to therapy. Many persons have been emotionally and verbally abused on a regular basis. They've been made to feel that they're deceitful, they're lying, nothing they can do is enough or right, always being attacked. And I never understand why we do this to our own family, why we do this to people at all. But it is particularly hurtful for people to be felt this way and to have this oversharing. Here you are trying to have a relationship with your father or mother, and then here's this other parent infiltrating your relationship. That is what you are doing, parents. When you are upset at your ex-husband, or upset at your ex-wife, or upset at your sweet man or your boyfriend or whatever it is, and you are oversharing with them, what you are doing is you are looking for them to pat you on the back and say it's okay. 10-year-olds don't have that capacity. 10-year-olds don't know what to do with that information. They don't know, and they can only take it at face value. Oh, okay, my father's a monster. Okay, my mother's a drunk. Okay, my father likes to choke women. How do you think that impacts your relationship with that guardian? Right? So if many of you are sitting here, and I really appreciate so many people watching and commenting, if you know that you have been a victim of oversharing and parentifying, and I say parentifying, let me just explain it, even though I've mentioned it before, is when you take a child, and I'm sure many of you will leave this discussion being like, oh my God, Riza, I was parentified. And that has implications as well. If you make a child do things emotionally, physically, psychologically that a child is not meant to do, that's parentifying basically. That's like the easiest way of saying it. Because the reality is many Caribbean people have been parentified and will parentify their own children. Asking your 9-year-old to be the disciplinary in the home and beat their little siblings, that's parentifying. I saw that when I was in my internship. And the mother thought it was, I said, is this normal that your 9-year-old will be the disciplinary and beat the 5-year-old or whatever? And they're like, yeah, that's normal. That's what they're there for. That's what being a big sibling is. And it's so ingrained in us to do things that are adult-like. Now, how does that impact sibling relationship? If some of you are listening and thinking, God, I've loved my sibling, but I hate the way that they are in terms of pretending that they're an adult or doing things that my mother's supposed to do. You know who did that to them? Your parents. Your parents turned them into a parent at a young age, and that tension you feel between you and your one sibling or multiple siblings, usually the eldest, is because they've been made to turn into a parentified child, whereby they're meting out the I was about to say abuse, meting out the punishments. They're the disciplinary. They're the one who is watching over your homework instead of like, they're the ones sitting with you doing the math lessons, and they're the ones making you feel bad, or they're just modeling what they see your parents doing to you. And they do it to other siblings, or they do it to their friends. The problem with parentifying a child is that child can never get back that childhood. Like, that's why, like, you ever see you have some friends, and you know, in Guyana we like to say, like, you had play days. You know, these are adults who are still trying to relive their childhood. And the reason they're trying to relive their childhood is because they probably didn't have one. We often see this in families that have low-income families and impoverished families, whereby the child has to like go out and work or sell or work at like a vendor stand for, like, as soon as they come off of school. This might be children whose mothers have to go and work 2 jobs. Usually we see a lot of parentifying in single parent homes, whether that's single mother, single father. You know, the single fathers will have their own issues whereby they're not that womanly touch. So go talk to your older sister about periods. You know, they don't have that motherly touch. Go talk to your big sister about boyfriends or whatever it is, right? And so, yes, it can be great to have that sibling who you're close with, but not when that sibling is the one meting out the punishment. Not when the parent, that sibling who is really not emotionally there to sit with you and be like, I'm beating you because, or I'm shouting at you because I'm frustrated with the fact that we did this work last week and you can't remember it this week, right? So these are like boundaries, man. Boundaries are so important. I'm getting some comments here. People are saying they like the topic. It's very relatable. I'm so happy that you guys, because this has been heavy on my chest for like 2 years, man. And I'm just happy I can get it out. And it's like, I just came from a session and I was like, I see how this destroys my clients, and it is hurtful because I know this has been ingrained in our culture just to like fly our mouths. Just fly our mouths. People, think of the last time you sat back and actually thought before you spoke, or had a sibling, or a sibling was attacking you on something personally, and you sat back and said, what is happening? What are they thinking? What have I done that offended them? What are they saying that's offending me or triggering me or makes me angry? Right? Like, it's just so... we don't do that enough. And luckily that's what therapy provides for many people. Someone said, very true, you may not go through these struggles as a child then, but as they become an adult, it comes back to haunt you. They develop depression, and the list goes on. Of course, because here you are. It depends on which one you're talking about, but the boundaries in general, like feeling like you can't talk to someone because, and this is the other thing, like feeling like you can't talk to a parent because they're judgmental or they think so badly of you. I'm always amazed when parents make their children feel bad or make them feel like they're liars and thieves and whores or whatever. Um, when you're the one who raised me, I wasn't born this way. You raised me. Like, so how can you call me a liar and a thief when shouldn't I have picked up that from you? And a lot of times it's parents just projecting their own regrets on you or their own anger of their own things or their angers with their spouses onto you. A lot of projection happens. A lot of people are projecting their hurts, their sadness, their disappointments, their helplessness, their hopelessness. You see this a lot with like mothers as well who feel trapped in a marriage. They may be particularly difficult with their children because they can't escape. And the reason they, in their mind, they can't escape is because of y'all. They may even have told you this. Again, very hurtful. Why would you tell your children, I can't escape because it's not for y'all? Or I can't left this man because it's not for y'all. Like, that's not fair. Children shouldn't carry that burden. What happens if you die? What happens if this man kills you or this woman kills you? You now have left your children with the burden that the only reason they are there is because of you. So that means if they die, it was your fault. Do you all have any idea what that does to the psyche of someone when they believe that they have caused someone's death or that they are causing their mother to suffer or father to suffer? Like, it is just so impactful on one psyche. And then we wonder why we have so many issues in Guyana. We have a ton of issues in Guyana, and a lot of it stems from our families. And I've seen some wonderful persons online recently being very candid and vulnerable about the abuse that they experienced in their homes. And I'm amazed because I'm just like, I would love to have a discussion with you and find out, now that you've had these realizations, like, how did seeing your parents' physical violence impact you, or sexual violence? I've had clients tell me they know that their fathers have raped their mothers. Again, information you should not know. You should not know. I am very boundary oriented. I grew up very boundary oriented. What happens in marriage stays in marriage. What happens between a couple stays in a couple. It doesn't have to stay as in like no one needs to know, but your children don't need to know. And quite honestly, the same thing for children. There's things that happen to your children, whether it's a breakup or a boyfriend or something like that, or you failed a test or something, that maybe you don't need to share that with your parents either. Of course, depends on your level of comfort, but you should have a choice. Not feel like you cannot, absolutely can't, because of the judgment or the criticisms or the verbal abuse you're going to get if you tell your parent that you cheated on a test or you failed a test or your boyfriend cheated on you or something like that. You know, it's like we want to have choices. We want to have a desire to have a connection with the people who we live around. We don't choose our family. We don't. Right? And going back to that comment on what happens between like a marriage shouldn't go towards the children. I used to say this. I say, you are the child. You didn't marry your father. You didn't marry your mother. Why do you need to know them as a spouse? You don't need to know that element of who they are. They're a mother. They're a father to you. They're not your husband or wife. You don't need to know them as that. You need to know them as a parent. Because there are people who are great parents, but sucky spouses. And there are people who are sucky spouses and great parents. Wait, I think I just said that. But the whole point is, you don't need to know that. You didn't marry your father. So you don't need to know that information. Okay, am I making sense, guys? Thumbs up if I'm making sense. This is some good views. I like it. I like it. I'm glad I did my topic. Oh my, I thought that my mother was projecting her bad upbringing on me. She raised herself as she was abandoned as a baby. Thank you for these videos. Thank you for sharing. My goodness. Like, that too, like, how traumatizing must it be to feel or to know that you were abandoned as a baby? Again, who told your mom that? Right? Like, I'm sure someone must have said very callously, like, oh, well, we take you in because your mother gone and run off with some other man to foreign and you end up staying here. I'm not saying that that's it, but like, that's so callous. Like, why do we have to be this way? Please, please. In 2021, everyone, be kinder. Take a breath before you speak. Ask yourself, is what I'm about to say, is it helpful or is it hurtful? Is it fair or is it unfair? Is it true? What are the facts? What are the facts behind what I want to say? Is it just a judgment? Right? And I just feel like so much hurt can be erased, or not erased, but kept from occurring if we would just be a little bit more mindful, a little bit kinder, a little bit more considerate. Because the reality is, and I always tell my clients this, when we come into therapy and we start talking about family and stuff, because I tend to talk a lot about your family and so on, we, at some point in time, after you've processed and you're starting to heal and so on, we need to get the statement out that your parents were a victim of their parents, right? And the reality is, they're not perfect, nor are you. And we can be hurt with them and still feel sad for them because they probably went through the same thing you did too. And they don't know what to do. But my goal in life is that the people watching me here today will be better parents, will be better human beings. And even if you're already a parent, you can fix it. You can fix it so your children don't end up in therapy with me, which of course I would love to see them. But the reality is, a lot can be fixed if we just tried to be different. Stop replicating your family's disorder into your own disorder. Stop replicating your mother's hurt and your father's hurt onto your own relationship. Stop projecting your pains and your sufferings onto other people. Because the reality is, if you don't stop, you're just going to create your family all over again in your new family when you have your own kids. Unless you make a conscious decision to change, you're not. Because of course you're just going to role model whatever you saw. It's totally normal, you know? And I just feel like for those who acknowledge that, like for example, this person who acknowledged that you knew that your mom was projecting, I think that you can love her still, even with her hurts. You can set aside and say, I hate that she did that. I know why she did, and I still love her because she needs love. That's a reality. We all need love. We all need validation. We all need to feel safe and secure. Sometimes we go around it the wrong ways. Sometimes we go around it the hurt ways. But if we just take a step back and say, I understand, or even you go to your mothers and fathers now, be brave. Be brave enough to say, I understand that you had a hard upbringing. I love you, and I want you to know that it's okay. I don't like what you did or do, but I love you, and you deserve to be loved. Okay? We got some saying here, a lot of sense, put so many things into perspective. I'm so happy that I came on then. I've never heard so many truths in one session. Well, that's what I'm going to end with today. I don't want to drag this on because I want to make it shareable. I want you guys to get out and share this because I feel like from the feedback, it sounds like I made sense today. And if that's the case, I want to close it off here so that more people can listen. Yeah, because if we do it too long, Guyanese can't stay. So attention spans are everywhere, especially at Christmas. But I just wanted to leave this with you guys. I wanted to put it out there. I hope that you guys have taken something away, each and every one of you. I want you to try and be better. And I know you all can. I know it because I work with you all, some of you, and I know that I have a belief and I have a hope in humanity, right? And if I can and I see crazy cases every day, then there's hope for us all. Okay? Have a beautiful, beautiful holidays. Please stay safe. Please wash your hands. Don't socialize in big groups. Wear your masks. Like I said last night, there's no excuse to not wear a mask. They're totally cute now. You can get them at all stores. I've been all over the place and I've seen them everywhere. Thank you so much for your attention. And again, if any of these things hit home and you need further support, let me know. Message me. Let me know if I should do a part 2 of this, and I'll try and use different topics or similar things around boundaries. But let me know. Have a good holiday, everybody.